Alright, here's going to be a little montage. It's going to be broken down to a few pieces because I'm no video guy. So anyway, let's get to it. Now, I'm going to be replacing this here. Obviously, look how fucked that is. It's really janky. So this is going to be the positive wire. So I'm going to get to it now. First thing you're going to do is take off the air box here. Next, you're going to take off this. It's 310 mils. Alright, now that that's out, next thing you're going to want to do is this is the wire that's going to go into your fuse box. So this follows down all the way into here, and it's going to feed into this in here. It goes right behind there. So you're going to have to take this fuse box off. It's one bolt here, one bolt there, one bolt there. I believe they're all 10 mil, but it might be 12. I'll find out in a second. Those three are off. Tilt it back like this. You can't really tilt it a hell of a lot because of the main wiring coming into the here from down in there. What this wiring goes is actually below these radiator fans, runs to the other side up into the driver's side door. Anyway, I digress. All you gotta do is tilt it back just enough to get this bolt out. That's gonna be the wire I was just telling you about. So you unbolt it, and then you're able to finagle it out. What you're gonna have to do is probably take a knife or something, cut back all this, because the wire goes down into there. So you just do that, you snake it out, you snake the new one in. This is also off my 98 Spark car, as you can see. A lot better shape. So this is your solenoid trigger wire. This is your positive. Anyway, we'll get to that later when I have a video of doing the starter. But this goes there. So the easiest way to get to it, by the way, take a little flathead, you pry the bottom, goes up underneath there, off. And then, like I had showed you, here's the wire right there. I cut with a little sharp blade, cut it. And you're able to trace it to where I told you to take it out. You take it off just by, snaking it from all this. And then obviously rinse and repeat. Reverse, just take that, bolt it back up, click it back up underneath, and then you're good to go to remove the starter. We'll get to that in the next video. Alright, something a little off topic, doesn't really have much to do with the video because you probably won't have this problem, but mine was all fucked up, so I also cut that off the 98. The way I do is I use these things called from 3M called Scotch Lock, these little buggers. So what you do is you take your wire cutter, get each side off to get it exposed, put each side in the Scotch Lock and lock them in, and then what I do is I go an extra step, which you should be doing anyways, and putting in these heat shrinks. So when you're done with that, just get it nice and warm, and it'll shrink over the wiring. It just keeps the moisture from coming in. It helps. I don't know if you ever see that videos on YouTube, but it helps. So there you go. All right, this next part, it's gonna be the part where I replace the starter and I get this part off too that goes to the starter. So this is gonna apply, I guess. I'm gonna try to separate into two separate videos and I'll double post it, but for the people that are trying to replace this, keep watching. For the people who are gonna be watching me do the starter, it won't really matter because, like I said, I'm going to double post the video. Alright, now to replace the starter, this is on an automatic, but for the manual it's basically the same. There might be some small variations. Anyway, first thing you're going to want to do is jack up the car and put jack stands on both sides just in case it falls. Alright, the first bolt you're going to want to take off is going to be right there. I'm using a 1/2 inch breaker bar with a 14 mil socket. Just crack it and then loosen it and take it out. All right, so you can take the next one out from either the top or the bottom. I've found as long as you're very, very gentle, because you can't fit the closed end in because there's not enough gap, that you can fit the wrench there and slowly loosen it. Or you can go from the top, but you need to make sure that you do not strip this out. Now, once you get it out, on cars with the precats, it might be a little difficult to get it out, but you can snake it out through. So now, look how nasty that is. Yeah, I think I'm going to bench test this one, but we'll see if it's the shitty, crappy wiring or the fact that this thing is all kinds of gunked and fucked up as to why we need to replace the starter. So I'm going to take these off, and I'll bench test it in the next excerpt. All right, now to bench test. Well, it does work. So, I mean, I guess that's good. So I didn't really need to replace the starter. But I'm really thinking it was the starter wire that was pretty bad. It was pretty grimy. So anyway, let me throw the other one I have in. It's a lot better shape. I'll throw that in. All right, next, you reattach it in here. See, I got it reattached up in there. You snake it back through, and you put the bottom plastic protector back on. Then you start snaking this through. Do this last. You see, like, the two connections here. Just because we're going to be finagling through there, and you don't want to mess up that. So anyway, I'm going to run this down. Back down through here. It's best, actually, to run it below these coolant hoses here. My mistake. So you just run it down below here. Pretty much any way that, you know, it won't get in the way of anything. It's best to run it below the coolant hoses. It's hard to do this with one hand, but there we go. And once you get it pulled down below there, it's time to reattach the starter. Alright, the next the next step in the process is reattach everything. So after that, it's all reattached. You make sure that this little protector is over it, so that doesn't get corroded, so you don't end up in the same predicament you were in the first place. And then you snake it up through here. Two things. It might be easier in the process if you just take this cross member out. I opted not to, just because of these little excerpts. It's just, for me, not relevant, but you could snake it up through there. Obviously, you're able to snake it out. You could snake it back in. It's just a little easier without this cross member. Anyway, you snake it in, and you'll be good to go to bolt up the two 14mm bolts. One up there, you can do that from the top. One on the bottom, you can do that from the bottom. All right, then after you get your starter attached, you reattach the fuse box to the car, to the chassis. After that, you should be ready to attach your airbox, all that good stuff. Attach that. Make sure you don't forget to put that back on. That's one thing that a lot of people forget to do, but anyway, attach that shit, and then throw the battery in and start the car, and you're good to go.